Hey everybody, it's Matt. And before we jump into the show today, I have a major announcement. The Investigator's Toolbox app is live. That's right, you can access this amazing website from your phone. We have versions available on iOS and on Android. All you have to do is visit the App Store and download and get started today. If you're a member of the community already, I encourage you to go in and download a version and get logged in, and you can access everything right from your phone. If you're not a member, go check it out, www.investigators-toolbox.com, or you can go to the App Store, Investigators Toolbox. Hope to see you in the community soon. Crosstracks case management system. That is what we are talking about today. Are you using a case management system? What are you waiting for? If you don't use a case management system, you really need to look into implementing that into your business regimen. I've been at it with Crosstracks now a little over a year, and it's just been a game changer for my business. They are SOC 2 certified, SOC 2 Type 2 certified. If you don't know what that means, it means that their encryption system is second to none. And you have to go through a whole screening process to figure out if you can even qualify for that, and they have. So you know with certainty your data is being protected. I don't think there's another case management system out there that offers that same ability to have the SOC 2 Type 2 certification. As you guys know, I've been singing the praises of Crosstracks, and I really believe in this product, and I believe you should check it out. Contact Brad, contact Pat, one of the team members over there, and see if it's right for you. Crosstracks case management system, check it out today.
Reliable evidence, whether in the form of video, witness statements, open source research, is critical to success in litigation and alternative dispute resolution. For nearly 40 years, the legal, corporate, and insurance communities have placed their trust in STUMAR Investigations to deliver secure intelligence and actionable results. Led by Stuart Drobny, STUMAR offers investigative and litigation support services across a diverse set of practice areas, including insurance, business intelligence, intellectual property, telecommunications, and family law matters. Headquartered outside of Philadelphia, STUMAR is licensed throughout the Mid-Atlantic states, Florida, and maintains a trusted network of global partners to handle the most complex of cases. Call 800-355-1199. or email info@stumarinv.com and reference PI Perspectives for a free consultation, training, or partnership opportunities. Visit stumarinv.com for more information. Welcome to PI Perspectives. Today, we take a look at the perspective of Megan Novak from Arkeo Investigations. Megan has built a great investigation business in New Jersey and specializes in criminal defense and surveillance work. So let's drop in on these two and get the show rolling. Please welcome Megan Novak and your host, private investigator Matt Spaier.
Welcome everybody to this week's episode of PI Perspectives. This is Matt Spaier, your host. Today we have Megan Novak from Arkeo Investigations out in New Jersey. Megan, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. I heard you on PI Magazine, the podcast, a few months ago, and it was great. I was like, wow, this is a gal who really understands the industry and doing surveillance work. I'm like, I want to have her on the show. Let's wait a little bit. And I reached out to you, and we found a date that works, and today's the day. So thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah, no problem. So what is your background?
So I've been a private investigator for, I think, a little over 15 years now. So it was my first job out of college. I went to St. Peter's in Jersey City, got my bachelor's in criminal justice. I interned with the Public Defender Service of DC in 2003.
Right.
So that's kind of what got my feet wet with investigative work. And that's really where I knew, that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
Then after college, I waited tables and bartended for quite some time before I was like, okay, I should, start applying for real jobs, so.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? That waiting tables and bartending was actually setting you up for the work that we do.
Absolutely.
I'm a big believer in that. Like the folks that work for me that are entry level, like they all had like waiter and waitressing backgrounds, because I always thought good customer service, right? Understanding how to talk to people, having social skills, and not just being a complete introvert. So it's funny that you're downplaying that experience, like, oh, I just did that, but it really sets you up for, you know, what you're doing now.
It does. It does build your personal skills, especially with like knocking on doors or, you know, just getting information out of neighbors or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You know, you learn how to talk to people, you know. And for
art
me,
to
it was a good balance because it was like I did so much surveillance. So I was alone so much during the day that then, you know, going to bartend at night, it kind of was a release to be able to actually talk to people.
Yeah. So I got a question for you. Did they make you wear like a bunch of flair, or were you good? A lot of buttons?
No, none of the places that I worked at, I had to do that. I actually worked at Arthur's Tavern. I'll, you know, throw their name out there. I worked there for a long time in Morris Plains. They're a very popular steakhouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, you know, then I went to Morristown, and then I went to Hoboken.
Right.
You know, that whole.
Well, you made the big time when you went to Hoboken.
Yeah.
If you were lucky to park your car, you could go in and have a drink.
Oh yeah, there was plenty of nights where my car got towed where I was like, I'll be fine. And then it's like you walk out at 4 a.m. and you're like, gosh, you know.
When I was younger, like there was a girl I met and she was like, it was nice. We were hitting it off. It was having a good time. And I was like, I can't date you anymore. She's like, why? I'm like, you live in Hoboken.
Yeah.
Like, I can't park.
It's a pain. That was not, I mean, working there was fun, but you know, that whole car situation is not fun.
Terrible. All right. So let's talk about your internship. Like what does that internship look like, and how did that mold you and make you really decide like, hey, this is something I really would like to get involved with and do?
So even, you know, I know there's a lot of things going on in the world right now as far as the justice system goes, but even back then, you know, I was say 18, 19, I guess at the time of my internship, I was like 21. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to get into public defense, criminal defense work. So I applied for a couple of different internships and decided to take that one. So it was basically, you know, like interviewing witnesses, serving subpoenas, scene investigations, canvassing neighborhoods, that sort of thing. And, you know, building a relationship with the client, which was always a very important, even now, like I still do criminal defense work, and sure. You know, that is to me, it's building the trust with the client is really just such a huge thing. So with working at the public defender's office, they definitely trained me to be able to do that. So that's kind of what, you know, I didn't do surveillance back then or anything like that with that internship, but as far as knowing how to kind of put the pieces together and formulate, you know, conduct an investigation from start to finish, that internship definitely molded me, and it definitely confirmed too that that's what I wanted to do.
Right. So like a whole methodology of basically how to do this business.
Exactly.
Mold your idea. I can relate to that. I think the first job out of college I had was very similar, right? It involved a lot of traveling. So we were going to 8 or 9 different locations a day and doing, you know, whatever investigative work they were hiring us to do. It was on the retail side. But that whole scheduling and the report writing that had to go behind it. Right. These were all invaluable lessons I learned from a guy who, you know, really didn't do so great in English in, you know, in high school and struggled a little bit in college, and math was not my forte. But when you become a business owner and it's your money, the numbers, you know, become important, and you learn real quick. You're writing reports. The English becomes very important, you know, when it's your thing, it kind of, you know, takes that route. But yeah, it's interesting. Like every job that I've had, definitely I've taken something from it and put it towards the next thing that I'm doing. Even now these days, you know, all the things that I do, you know, a lot of those ideas or just the methodology of doing something spawned from, you know, back in the day when I started doing stuff. So that's really great. You know, yeah. Kind of understanding. So how did you make that decision? Like, okay, I want to open my own thing, and how'd you get started with that?
I think that, so while I was waiting tables, I started applying for jobs. And my first job was being a private investigator with a firm out of South Jersey, small little thing. And that kind of, you know, spun me in the direction of me knowing that that's exactly what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I did try being a paralegal. I wanted to go to law school. I wanted to be a divorce attorney. I wanted to get my degree in forensic psych. from John Jay. None of those things panned out. And then after working for a couple companies, I worked for, I think, like 2 nationwide companies, those large PI firms. And I was just like, why am I not doing this myself?
Right.
They were lugging me into New York and Brooklyn, Queens, and all of that every day, every other day. And I was like, I'm sick of this. And I know that I could do this myself and I can do a better job myself, So then once I hit the requirements for the state to get licensed, I applied and I got it. And I guess it's like 8 years later, I'm still trucking along here.
That's awesome. Good for you. Yeah, I can relate to having that background. For me, I wasn't per se a paralegal, but it kind of was. I was working in-house as an investigator for a law firm, right? Okay. So they had me doing everything. I mean, I was literally drafting like motions and notice of claims and things like that. So yeah, I had that. I'm going to be a lawyer until I went to court one too many times. I was like, there's way too many people here. I'm never going to make it. So. That's cool. That's a great story of just kind of finding your way and doing what you need to do. And 8 years. That's awesome. That's really,
it was definitely, it's a weird time in your 20s. You kind of struggle. You go back and forth of what you think you should be doing instead of maybe looking back. I kind of wish I just wasn't so uptight about it and just kind of let things happen naturally. But again, looking back, it's like, I'm happy the way that everything did work out, so.
Definitely. It's crazy because like when you're that age, you think you know everything, by the time I was 27, I was like, I know everything, and then I hit 30, I'm like, I know everything. And then I hit 35, I'm like, I know everything. And then like when I'm 38, I'm like, I know nothing.
I know nothing.
Like I finally matured and admit that I don't know.
I think that I know nothing thing hit me at like 36 or something. I'm like, what? No, like I don't know anything at all.
My kids teach me new things every day. Really good stuff. So your operation, is it just you or do you have folks that work with you too?
I have people that work for me. I do I handle the criminal defense cases myself.
Okay.
A lot of the times with the serving papers, I enjoy that. So I do it myself.
Yeah.
So basically the people that work for me do surveillance.
Yeah.
And especially in, this is like busy season for surveillance right now. So it starts to pick up, March and then kind of dwindles down a little bit in October.
Right.
So with the overlapping of cases, but I'm still very active in all of my cases that I get.
That's great. I'm remembering back with process serving. So I used to do a lot of process serving when I started. And I always took the approach where I tried to like educate the person I was serving, it's like, cause somebody shows up your door and they're handing you a piece of paper and it says you're being sued. They're like, oh crap. Like,
right.
You could literally see their hand shaking and they're like super nervous. It's like, it's going to be okay. Just call your insurance company, give them a copy of it. Don't ignore this. You don't want a default judgment. It's really hard to get out of that, and just kind of giving them a little bit of a, instruction. I remember there was this one time I was serving somebody. It was late at night. It was like up in Westchester, like a really nice property. And the lady called the cops on me. She's like, I'm going to call the cops. I'm like, go right ahead. So she called the cops, bubblegum lights on, they come, like, what are you doing here? I show them my license. The PI license, I show them my process serving cards and all that. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm serving papers. And the cop looks over at the lady and goes, you got to take these. So I was like, vindication.
Yeah. Go ahead, call the cops. That's fine.
Yeah, might be my guest. Serving was crazy. The one thing I would say about process serving as a business owner, it's tough, man. The margins are so small on that, like to make a buck. I know, like I have friends that own process serving companies. And I'm just like, how do you do it? They're like,
I don't know, those big companies. I don't really know how they do it because
class action lawsuits. Yeah, no, they do class action suits. That's the only way they stay in business because
I know that sometimes it's like, oh, if we don't serve the papers, you don't get charged, and it's just I don't know how that works.
That's not good for our business.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm smart about it. I'm not going to go, well, now with the pandemic, it's a little bit different because people are home. But before that, it's like you don't go knocking on somebody's door at 1:00 on a Monday. You go in the evening, you go on the weekend. You have to be smart about it. So also the client's happy and you're also not wasting your own time.
Sure. I tell you what we're doing though is we're cleaning up a lot of issues and messes, not from other process servers per se, but from companies that went out of business. So
Okay.
you have all these actions that started pre-COVID with restaurants that need to get served that are no longer in business, with
Right.
doctors' offices. We need to get copies of X-rays and MRIs and things like that, and they're shuttered. Okay, so who's maintaining those records, right? Tracking those people down and doing it. So it's been very interesting this past year. I would say my firm doesn't really do process serving. Like I have an arm, which is another company that does it for me.
Yeah.
But we do get called in when other process serving companies kind of fail, and then we need to find the people to do what we need to do. So it's
Right.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool
I
stuff.
don't know. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, good. So you've got that little aspect to it. Today, I wanted to talk to you actually about surveillance. We're gonna jump into that more after we take a break here. But what are some of the other things that your company does?
so we do scene investigations, some plaintiff work as far as that's concerned, witness statements. That kind of falls under like the special investigative unit. So that's more witness statements, scene investigations. I guess serving papers can kind of fall into that.
Right.
And then surveillance is big. We don't get too many domestic cases. I've definitely found like a dwindle. They're just not as popular as they used to be. I guess people are pretty capable of catching their
Right.
cheating partner on their own now.
Social media will do that. Guys are stupid.
Hey, girls are stupid too. It's not just one way.
Right.
Um, and then it's just, surveillance for insurance cases and the criminal defense work. The criminal defense work is really what kind of lights that fire in my belly. I could sit in the car all day, but if I really get excited, it's definitely because I have some sort of criminal defense case.
So before we jump out for a break, tell me about the criminal defense. Like, what was one of the crazier cases that you worked on that really caught you by surprise? How it ended up working out?
Ooh, I don't know if I could really talk about it because
all right.
like,
Don't violate
some of them are like on a federal level.
Okay, so anything that you can just give me generalities where, let's talk about a situation maybe where you thought it was going to be one way and it turned out being another.
Well, I can't really answer that, but what I can say is I'm working on a very important case right now where a man is wrongfully convicted of being in prison for murder. He's been in there since 2006.
Wow.
So I'm working very closely with the attorney and with him and his family to put everything together. He's appealed the case so many times, but I think that right now with me and the attorney, I think that he has the right people behind him, and even with that type of case like that like touches me and, my heart or whatever, so it's like, I'm not even doing it it's not about like, oh, I'm going to make so much money off of surveillance. It's like the criminal defense work. It's like, there's humanity in that and, being able to help him. And if we can get him out of there, like it's a huge thing, so.
Isn't it all panel anyways? Like pretty much as far as fees go, like it's all set, right?
Yeah. But with that, it's just, I don't think that anybody should ever really feel like they can't get proper representation in the court system because they can't financially afford it.
No, you're absolutely
right. Probably
why
he's in that situation in the first place,
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. I reflect on that movie, Just Mercy, if you've ever seen it. That's a game changer. Like I remember watching that and just being so anxious.
What is it called? Mercy?
It's called Just Mercy. It's about a guy down in the South back in the 60s that's wrongfully accused of murder.
Okay. I'll have to watch it.
Yeah. I want to say it revolves around the poverty law center down there.
Okay.
But it's worth checking out. It's Michael B. Jordan, really good movie.
Okay.
And I was just so anxious watching it. I'm just relating to like, as an investigator, like doing that kind of work, like it takes a certain type of person. Like I don't know if I'm cut from that cloth, not because
not everybody is. And I think that's important just as an investigator in general is to realize, what what you can do and what you can't do, and what cloth you're cut from,
Yeah, it's just like the anxiousness of it, I don't know. I think I could sleep at night. But
it riles me up, and it does some nights. It does keep you awake a little bit because your mind is going.
Yeah.
And you're trying to piece things together and what can I do? And, and then there's almost some sort of like guilt within you too. That's like, what if it doesn't work out the way that I want it to, then you carry that with you too. So
this way, should have done that way. Why didn't I see that?
Right.
That kind of stuff. Absolutely. And then, by the way, you got to go to, for me anyways, you got to go to Southern District to New York and to talk to a federal court judge. Like you're part of that. It's super intimidating.
I don't know. I'm fascinated by it. Yeah. But like, I think that overall, like the criminal defense cases I've worked on, I mean, it's not like everybody gets off, but they do get lower sentences.
I tell you, my one experience, I've done a little bit of criminal, not too much. And the federal court thing was actually, I make jokes about it. It wasn't awful, but it was crazy to see how judges are revered in that. So one of my experiences with a criminal case was somebody who was wrongfully accused. She was caught up in a scam with one of these no-fault shops where they were billing for services they weren't doing. And she was actually legitimate. The problem was she got offered money to treat, which was a no-no. Even though she had a legitimate injury, she should have been treating, but they offered her money to make sure she went to this particular facility. So she got involved in all that stuff. And we were working the back end and we were getting a lot of information that was going to probably help her be exonerated. But then she just took a plea. She's like, yeah, I can't take it anymore. I'll just do the time that they want. It's not that unreasonable and I'll get out. And I was frustrated, man. I was like, you're innocent. Why are you doing that?
A lot of people do that. It's sad.
Yeah. Super crazy. And that's really most of my criminal work. I haven't done a little bit, but I tend to, when I do get those calls, I have some great resources that people that I know that specialize in this stuff that I just hand it off to them. Like, here you go. You're in the
I mean, the majority of the cases I've had are, like drug charges, that type of thing. Which to me, I don't know. I don't find that as serious as like murder or, something like that.
Especially if it's marijuana here, like New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's changed.
Not a big deal. Okay, so we're going to jump out and take a break. So everybody sit tight and we will be right back.
Delft Point keeps on advancing. The commonality search is here. The new data is unlike anything they currently offer and will go in depth into your target's assets and relationships. Use them on everything from jury research and associate connections to business investigations and fraud cases. You don't want to miss these. Visit delftpoint.com for more details. Sign up and use code PIP20 for additional savings. Are you overwhelmed with your current caseload? Could you use some help with your skip trace assignments? With MERLIN Locate Services, rather than adding staff, you can add an entire skip trace department of licensed private investigators who specialize in skip tracing. Check out merlinlocate.com today. When you work with MERLIN Locate Services, you bring on a valuable experience and trusted extension to your team. Check out the PI Institute of Education at piinstitute.com. Since 1989, Kelly Riddle has been teaching on subjects such as surveillance, nursing home investigations, insurance fraud, domestic investigations, hidden assets, and accident scene investigations. The PI Institute of Education is a featured learning partner in the investigatorstoolbox.com. So check out the free content on the site, then visit the Institute for more great savings on additional classes. Have you heard about the NALI conference on July 23rd through June 25th? NALI heads to San Antonio, Texas for the premier live conference event of the year. You don't want to miss this great opportunity. Visit nali.com to learn more. And Matt will be featuring some of the speakers in the next few weeks.
And welcome back to PI Perspectives. This is Matt Spaier, your host. Today we are here with Megan Novak from Arkeo Investigations in New Jersey. Megan, welcome back to the program.
Hi.
So, we were covering a whole bunch of different topics, different things that your company does before we jumped out. And we left off with doing the criminal investigations, but that's not really what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about surveillance and basically your take on how to do surveillance. So, how did you like first get into doing surveillance, and how do you get better at doing it? What's your technique for learning?
Oh, when I first got into it, I feel like there's a natural aspect to a person that does surveillance. I don't really know if it's a teachable thing. At least from my experience, I was kind of natural at it. I knew exactly what to do. Don't follow too close, but don't follow too far. To me, I always think that it's kind of like hide and seek in your car, So, and through having my own business and going through so many people that are like, I could be a private investigator, and you're like, okay, I'll give you a chance, and you're like,
oh boy,
oh my God, like no, you can't. Like maybe like on the computer, but you definitely can't be like a field investigator.
Yeah.
But I think that there is a natural instinct, to know where to sit, what to do, when to follow, because that little part of when the person leaves their neighborhood, that's so critical in surveillance, because that's when you're more likely to lose them like right out of the gate than, following them on the parkway. Like that's easy.
Yep.
But when they're going through neighborhood roads, and like I said, like you're kind of playing like hide and seek,
yeah.
If they're going through like a grid, like I live in Asbury Park. So it's like, if you are dipping through to get downtown, you have to make sure that you don't look like, like they're kind of blending in. So blending in a car is definitely something that's learned, I guess. You have to get made a bunch of times in order to figure out like what you're doing wrong.
Happens to everybody. I just attended last week the Georgia Association, the GAPI, had a seminar, a virtual seminar, and Jim was teaching on this stuff.
Oh yeah. I actually attended that too.
Yeah. So Jim was talking about like, if you can get a background on the person you're surveying by somebody who actually knows them, right? So let's say that they're, you've got one spouse surveying the other spouse, and it's like, what type of coffee does this person like? Right. Like, well, that's a random question. Why would you ask that? But no, it's genius, right? Oh, he likes Dunkin' Donuts. Okay. So where does he usually get his Dunkin' Donuts coffee? What store, if you know, right? And it's like, okay, you kind of got an idea of when the target's leaving their location. They're probably going to grab a cup of coffee before they go and do whatever they're doing. We are all creatures of habit, right?
Exactly.
I was like, wow, that is really great. Like these are things you don't think about, but doing that pre-investigative work, knowing the right questions to ask,
right,
and really building your game plan before you're going in. These are things that I don't know if a lot of people do that. I think the good investigators do,
right,
rather than just showing up, sitting in a car and, checking in every 15, 20 minutes with a picture. Yeah, I'm still here, like set yourself up for a win, right? Not for failure, right?
And that's one of the perks now is social media is a big help too. I mean, obviously like finding out details from the spouse or, that could be absolutely helpful to know their day-to-day patterns, but social media is a huge thing. The things that some of these people post is just, it's crazy.
Yeah. There's another investigator that I know down in North Carolina, Sarah Capelli, and she's another one that just doing her pre-investigative workup. It's impressive. Like we've had conversations like, should I check here? Should I do this? Should I do that? I'm like, surveillance is not really my thing, but if you're looking, to build something on somebody, maybe you can check here and do this and do that. I think she's very creative. And this is somebody like, she loves sitting in the back of her car, like doing stuff. Look, so I'll get a text.
I'm very comfortable back there.
Yeah. Every once in a while, she's like, yeah, I took this car today. Like she's got a whole different, bunch of different cars that she's using, and I'm sitting in the back doing all this. I was like, go girlfriend.
Yeah, but the pre-investigative work is definitely like, you have to kind of get to know the person you're going to follow before you head out there just to sit on the house, even just the neighborhood and the routes out, is it a cul-de-sac? Is it a dead end? Is it a rural environment? Is it more of like, and even checking in with the cops, because like certain times, especially now, I find that people are more aware of you sitting in the car and they are more likely to call the cops, but knowing what areas to check in with the cops, so then you don't have three of them behind you while you're,
Right.
on site and the person leaves. That's happened before too. The cops get called and the person leaves. Like, you want to make sure that all of those ends are covered.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I remember when Jim talking about even checking in with the dispatcher. Like, hey,
right.
this is what I'm doing, and then getting a call from the dispatcher, be like, yeah, somebody just called. Just
Exactly.
pulled your car over. You time to skedaddle.
Yeah. And it's always like, well, who called? Like, is it the person that you're watching, or is it somebody down the street?
Yeah.
But that's the other thing too with like neighbors. It's like because I'm pretty decent towards neighbors. It depends on how I'm approached. I've definitely been screamed at before, or like accused of like doing narcotics in my car. I remember one time that was a thing, and that was in like South Jersey. But yeah, it's just like, with neighbors, it's like, are you watching me? And it's like, if I was watching you, do you think I'd really be sitting like directly in front of your house? Like, the person that I'm watching is like 2 blocks down, So
It's crazy. You get the Johnny Justice or Jetty Justice
right.
wants to knock on your door. And, hey, what are you doing here? Yeah, I've definitely seen that, and I've heard like another guy who comes to mind doing surveillance, George Gerges, out in Indiana. Awesome investigator, does a great teaching on it. Basically, you get better by failing, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Kind of learning. It's like it's going to happen. You're going to get made. I remember like back in the day when I was doing this stuff, we had a plumbing supply company that they wanted us to follow their trucks. Like, this is way before GPS or anything like that, right? We have guys that are making deliveries. They're losing time. They disappear for hours. What are you doing? And there were times, listen, where I was there with my freaking camera on my shoulder, because that's the technology that was available at this time, sitting in my car, filming a guy who had a flatbed truck. He pulled it over to like the side of the road, and he pulls out a lawn chair, puts it on top of a flatbed truck, and he's sunning himself for literally like 3 hours. I was like, this is gold. This is really gold.
Wow.
But then I had other ones where guys like pulled their car or pulled the truck into like a shopping center. They get out, and 2 guys, they come running up to my car with like, pipes in their hand, going, who are you and what are you doing? Why are you following me? I'm like, oh crud. time to go. Like, am I in serious danger here?
Funny too how like certain cases stand out in your mind, because there was this one case. The guy was out on disability, but he was running like a landscaping company from his house. I followed him all day, like probably like 6 hours, early morning to the afternoon. And this was up in North Jersey, like Morris County. And he pulled into it, and I'm from up that way, so like I know the area. And he pulled into this neighborhood, and I'm like, I've never been over here. Like, what is this? And I'm looking at his car, and then he knocked on the other side, my passenger side, and he's like, can I help you? Are you following me? And I was like, no, like, what are you talking about? Whatever I said.
You're paranoid.
He's like, are you an investigator? I'm like, no. And he's like, why is there a camera on your lap? And I was like, I'm gonna go. But I'm like, you waited all like you. Because they get like defensive too when that sort of thing happens. Because it's like, I followed you all day. Like, we went to like 7 different houses, and you're mowing the lawn and trimming the bushes, and now all of a sudden, like, you're mad. Right. But I felt okay with getting made that day because I got enough video to show that he was totally fine.
You call your comp attorney, tell him to take the deal.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I know, like, on the personal injury side, independent medical examinations, like leaving independent medical.
Yeah.
So my company would get hired to accompany people to the independent medical examinations for 2 reasons. One, to make sure the doctor behaves himself and doesn't ask anything he's not supposed to ask, which now becomes your client testifying about their medical condition and all that, right? So that's a big no-no. Or they take x-rays when they're not supposed to do that. The other thing is surveillance, right? What first thing you do when you get into you check into the IME place, the doctor's office, they want a photo ID with your address, and all this other stuff. And they're funneling it over to the investigator outside. Here's what the guy looks like, or the girl looks like, they'll be coming out at so-and-so time and blah, blah, blah. And I've had times where I've come out like in Manhattan, and it's like, you see the van with the tinted windows. Like, I'll just go off and just like knock, knock, knock. I'm like, Eat it. At the
Yeah,
bricks.
well, the IMEs are, from this side of things, the IMEs are the perfect way to identify the person. If they don't have any social media presence, you don't know what they look like, you don't know what they drive or anything.
Yep.
You don't know where they live. That's exactly, it's like, well, let's get a medical appointment. And then when he shows up there, then we follow him from there.
Yeah.
And the receptionists are usually pretty, willing to give you the information, like, is so-and-so here? And it's like, oh, he's right behind you. And it's like those medical offices are always so small too. So it's like, you're right on top of each other and you're like, oh, he's right behind me. Okay.
I've had investigators sitting in those waiting rooms with cases or backpacks. Like, a client I work for, here, let me show you this video. It's like, there you are. They're like, I'm glad that you helped the guy fill out the paperwork, because it just shows me like going through and I'm not just sitting there, doing my stuff. I'm like,
because you have to ID the person. So everybody's name is called. I've done that too. You sit in the waiting room.
Yep.
Wait for the person's name to call, and you're like, there's my guy. I'll go back out to my car, wait for him to come out.
Yeah, they're brutal. I mean, I know some of the places it was like 4 hours, 4 hour meeting, and it's just 40, 50 people sitting in a tiny room. So a lot of times there's like not even enough chairs for people.
Absolutely.
I hate doing IMEs. It was like the worst. I thought it was like the biggest waste of my time.
Yeah.
So, but hey, it was business. We did it. We took care of it. And I've had times where folks have left the IME, and I'm like, okay, be aware of your surroundings. Someone's probably following you. That's okay. Don't change your life. Whatever your routine is, just do it. Right. Just don't, don't go run the marathon. Don't go weightlifting. Maybe don't play soccer this weekend, but just be aware of your surroundings. And they're like, right, no problem. They go. And then you get a video of them like literally getting to the end of the block. And this is, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, pulling out a big joint, just like lighting it up. And it's like, it was more of a big deal back then than it is now.
Right.
But it's like, the attorney's like, oh, can you believe this guy did this? Like, this is really affecting our case. And then there was the other time where there was a guy who had he had an injury, and his case was really close to being settled, and it was a big injury, like multi-million dollars. He goes on vacation to Dominican Republic, or Cuba. It was a Cuba or Dominican Republic, I don't know, one of those places, and he's dancing. He's doing salsa. Someone took video of him and they posted online, and the insurance company found it, and all of a sudden their offer like shrunk by half. And when the lawyer was like, why did you do that? Like, that was really irresponsible of you. He goes, I didn't think it would make it to the United States. I thought it was like the YouTube from Dominican Republic. I didn't think it was a big deal. Like, oh, okay. All right. Somebody doesn't follow instructions.
Yeah.
So you see all things.
I've been on cases at medical appointments too, where you don't necessarily have to go inside. And they've been escorted by people. And this one time I remember specifically, like the escort walked, the claimant in, and then just walked around, and like he like looked at me, like waves, and I'm like, what am I gonna do now? There's nothing I could do now, So I mean, that is definitely like anybody that does plaintiff work, that is a huge deterrent for private investigators on the other side to have your people escort it, because they'll pick us out. They know what they're looking for, wave to us and blow us a little kiss, and we say, okay, bye-bye.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's crazy. So what would you say is, in your opinion, is a mistake that some investigators make when they're taking these assignments or getting ready to get out there and do it?
Before they go out there, or like while they're out there?
Well, let's do both. Let's say what would be a mistake before, and what would be a mistake on the job?
I think on the job, I think that maybe being a little bit too cocky about yourself, like maybe like sitting too close, or you get confronted by neighbors and you sit there anyway. I've actually had somebody that worked for me do that. A neighbor approached him, and then he stayed there anyway instead of moving out of the area.
Right.
That's a huge mistake. Like, the whole point of this is to be unobserved. Like, if you're standing out, like you're doing it totally wrong, and be respectful of the people in the area too. If they're bothered by you being there, just move out of their view. They're going to forget about you. But before heading out there, I think, like how we're talking about the pre-surveillance I think that's a big deal, knowing what you're getting yourself into, knowing the area, knowing the person that you're following, before you're getting out there. You don't want to just go out on surveillance and then figure it out while you're there. You need to know what you're getting yourself into.
Right. How would you say your clients react to that billable time? Are they cool with you doing a workup, or did they give you a little bit of a hard time about it?
I guess it depends,
Right.
Attorneys
You
are,
lay the foundation, like when you're talking to them about the assignment, like, hey, we need to, in the beginning, I'm going to tell you now it's going to be X amount of billable hours, or it'll be X amount of dollars for us to do this pre-work. But here's why it's important for us to do it. We want it to work out for you, right? Is that like kind of the approach you take on it? Or?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And, every investigation includes that. And all of my clients, they know that they're getting not just the surveillance report, but the, social media background check type, basic background check type of information included in the report. I don't really charge extra. I personally don't charge extra for that because I have to do that anyway in order to do the investigation. So that's kind of, to me, already like built into the hourly rate. So.
But as far,
go ahead.
You get a lot of subcontracting work from other investigators where they're looking to have coverage in your area done.
I do that too. Yeah, especially because I'm a female, so there's a lot of guys in this field, and you can't necessarily go in to get a facial by somebody's ex-wife if you could, but you're not going to blend in as well.
Yeah,
so it's more like that.
We've had a couple of nail salon cases.
Yeah,
where they were doing some like shady practices over there. Nothing, not that kind of shady. It's more like they weren't following the hygiene type stuff. Like they were supposed to clean tools and do stuff like that, and they didn't. And people got infections and got really sick. And I think somebody like got an amputation of a toe or something. Because
oh my god,
yeah, it was bad, right? So they wanted us to do this, and they're like, do you have female investigators? I was like, yes, I do, actually, as a matter of fact. I think at that time I had two really good females working for me, and I was like, hey, good news. You're going for right. Bad news is people get sick at this place, so be very careful. Wash your hands and clean yourself off when you're done.
This is terrible.
Yeah. And
I don't know, like the salon stuff, I'm not really like, that's not really my thing, but I enjoy it. You get a little spa day on, make sure the camera's rolling while you're there, but it's good.
We used to do that, like I mentioned, my first job from school, working for the retail company that did the, following around the guys on trucks. But one of the other things we did also were integrity checks on restaurants and bars. So we would literally get paid to go have dinner somewhere, or go have drinks somewhere, and just sit at the bar for 3 or 4 hours.
Yep.
Watch the bartender on buybacks. How many buybacks are they doing? How often are they doing it? Here's a wad of cash. Don't get super drunk. So,
right.
And
I started getting into that right before the pandemic, because I figured with my background, in the restaurant business, I know exactly what to look for. I've actually, at the bars I've worked at, I've had spotters on me, to see if you're giving away money. So I know what to look for. But then it was like, then the pandemic hit, and then, restaurants don't have the money to be spending on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But definitely it's entertaining. It's fun to do.
Yeah, we had some great clients in New York, like Pete's Tavern. It's amazing.
Wow.
It was a great client to have. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to go hang out at Pete's Tavern for 4 or 5 hours. Right. Right. Is there a game on? Is it going to be fun?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And then restaurants too. There were some really, really good restaurants, although we had to eat at Pete's too. So it was like, food and beverage. So, whoever my significant other was at the time, really benefited, because I'm like,
absolutely,
you're coming with me.
I think that's that's an important thing too, as a private investigator. Make sure that the person that you're with is willing to go on these little adventures with you every once in a while. They have to be just as into it. So.
We had a client that was a jewelry company too, which was nice. So we would go to the different shops and just do integrity, check out customer service and see how things roll. But I had to buy jewelry,
right.
this place was cool. They're like, if you want to keep it, you can keep it at a discount. They didn't give it to us for free, but they gave us like a nice discount to do it. So yeah, my significant other at the time did very well. She's like, I like this job. You can stay. You're taking me out to eat. You're putting jewelry on me.
Right.
You're a keeper. I'm going to hold on to you for this one.
One of the cases I actually had to do, which was a sub case, they needed a female. I had to go get wedding arrangements, like wedding flowers.
Yep.
It was just like, once it was all said and done, my living room was like filled with roses. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing with them? Like, mommy wants some roses. Like, who do I give these to? Like, it just weird,
Hey, look,
it's corsages.
The crazy rose.
Friend, we have to go out one night and just wear, the corsages and the boutonnieres out.
She should have done it. She should have been like the guys that go to the club there, and then he sell roses to.
Oh yeah, I could have done that.
Could have put them all in a bag and got on there and be like $10.
Good idea, yeah.
They can't say no in front of their girlfriend. Like, yeah, of course. I used to hate those guys. Like, really, they create problems if you didn't have some extra cash laying.
Right.
Good times.
Up and if I wanted to give me that rose.
Exactly. Right. That was a relationship ender right there.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I've seen definitely my fair share. Yeah, we've had cases in like banquet halls and things like that where you got to go in and pretext like you're doing a big event. I think I was trying to identify a portion of a dance floor that was broken. Right. So it's like I had to gain access and I needed a good story to do it. Or actually, I'm remembering now, even back when I worked for the attorney before I started my own business, they had a case at a roller rink in the South Bronx called Skate Key. It was like this huge roller rink, like down by Yankee Stadium, where Matt shouldn't be there during skating times because Matt may get killed down there. And I didn't feel like I didn't have a company. I didn't have anyone working for me. I didn't really know anybody to do it. So it's like, how do I solve this problem? So I had these business cards made up. I had this whole thing. I had this big, intricate pretext of, I'm going to shoot a music video. I work for a production company. We're scouting the area. And I got into the location off hours and was able to get everything I needed to do because of this great pretext. I was like, it's the only way I'm not getting killed. Wow. Yeah.
See, that's a huge thing. Is like thinking outside of the box. You can't, every case is ran totally differently and requires different, different aspects, like, what you just said, like with the production company. So that's very important too, is you can't handle each case as being the same, staple case. Everything is totally different. That's also one of the reasons why I love doing this too, is every day is different. You have no idea what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis when you're out doing surveillance. You have no clue.
Yeah. If you're hanging out with Matt, you're probably getting fed and getting jewelry. So it's all good stuff. But yeah, I had business cards made. I created fake email addresses. I mean, I was all in on this, right? I was like one step away from WordPress, creating like a production company website. Fortunately enough, it was early back in the day where folks didn't really, the internet was kind of there, but it wasn't really something that was getting pounded like that. But yeah, I had this whole backstory, and I went with it. And at the end of the day, I got what I needed.
Yeah.
So, you never know.
Awesome.
All good stuff. All right, we're going to wind down here. This was really, really awesome, Megan. I appreciate it. How do folks get a hold of you if they have any questions?
My website is arkeopi.com. So that's ARKEOPI.com. Mm-hmm. And my 1-800 number is 1-855-50-ARKEO. Okay.
So before we wrap up here, what advice can you give to maybe the female investigator, just on your own experiences on how to succeed and be a business owner here and get to that 8-year mark? Maybe they're just starting up or struggling or something. What type of advice would you give them?
I would say one of my biggest things for myself was kind of growing into myself and being myself. Because I was told, as a woman, you're always kind of told to be a certain way, mm-hmm. So as an investigator, I think that as long as you are as natural as you possibly can be, you will succeed.
Yeah.
There's no reason to, be the sexy PI or, you know what I mean? Use that sort of avenue. If you're a little bit more tomboyish or whatever, then play that part into your business, and just be as natural and confident as you can in yourself, and there's not with PIs. That's just, I think, with women own businesses in general. The more genuine you are, the more likely you are to get business. Nobody really wants to do somebody that's phony in this business particularly. So I think that would be the advice that I would give to any females trying to break into the field, and also not to be intimidated by you guys, because it is a male dominated field. So,
Yeah, it is. It can be intimidating, and understand that you guys have earned the right to a seat at the table. There are some fantastic female investigators out there, like really, really good, and it's kind of a no brainer. And it's not just from the matrimonial side or surveillance side. Yes, all right, that's a softball, right? Yeah, great. No one's going to see a woman coming, right? We all know that,
right?
But we also don't realize that the thinking that goes behind it, right? The intuitiveness and just the ability to pay attention to detail. I'll be the first to say it. I think, this is just my opinion, that I think females are really good at that. Like, they really understand how to work something through. I've never shied away from hiring a female employee that it was more than just office support. Like, I have field investigators.
Right.
I've had many over the years, both male and female. Like, I've never, to me, it was like qualifications, right? What do you have? Do you at least have a background, or are you trainable? That's
Right.
more important to me than whether or not you're male or female. And it's weird because you do get attorney clients sometimes where they're like, I want somebody who's a specific race,
Right.
or a specific gender to go to this neighborhood to talk to somebody. It's like, really? Because I don't think that should be. I think you need somebody who's really good at what they do, and somebody.
I think it depends on the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I just had a surveillance case that in Trenton, and it's like, I'm not blending in Trenton. Right. So it is important to have a wide array of, people that work for you.
Well, you can
race,
blend in
gender, anything.
If you create the narrative, you can blend in.
That's true.
Hey, I'm shooting a music video. I'm casing the area, right?
I think that for me, it's like I walk into a building and they think I'm like, that area is like social. Are you with social services? I'm like, no. So.
Yeah, I did.
But anyway, I had a man go out there and he did awesome. He thrived in that area.
One more quick story before we wrap up. So I did have a situation where it was one of these gentlemen's clubs in an area that, again, I should not have been in, and my client was like, I want you to go in there, because it was a stair defect in the VIP area. So I was like, first of all, I'm not going to get in there. Second of all, if I do get in there, the second I take my phone out to take photos, they're throwing me out.
Right.
Nobody's allowed to take photos in those situations. You can't do this stuff. I'm like, so what are you thinking? Like, everybody gets pat down going in there, this and that. So he's like, no, I want you to go and do it. And I went there and I crashed and burned. They were nice to me. They didn't throw me out, but they were like, yeah, this guy shouldn't be here. Something's up.
Right.
Round two, I had one of the females from my, who work with me. First of all, I was like, hey, are you comfortable going to this situation? Because if you're not, I'm not putting you out there.
Right.
Said, are you kidding me? This is great. I do this with my girlfriends all the time. We go out and we love to have fun there. I was like, okay, go do this stuff, get into the VIP area and get me what I need to get. And she got it done. Nobody saw it coming.
Right.
Oh, she's got her phone in here, and yeah, she's texting with her friends and all that. Like,
yeah.
It's just snap, whatever, and it was a lighting condition. And it was just like, we needed to see what that stairway looked like before we had a discovery and inspection. Okay. This was a huge case. Guy made it, like, they made a lot of money. In fact, they put that club out of business.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess their insurance covered it, and then they went out of business, or they went out of business and then insurance covered it, whatever it was.
Right.
But yeah, so just being creative like that. So yeah. Okay. Well, Megan, this was great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody tuning in and checking out and learning more about you and your story. Please follow up with her if you have any questions on doing this stuff. And congratulations on 8 years. Keep at it. Great job.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun. It was a good conversation.
No problem. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you guys on the next show.
Thank you, Megan, for coming on and talking about your specialties in this industry. If you need surveillance work in New Jersey, don't hesitate to contact Megan and her team. We'd also like to thank Crosstracks, PI Institute of Education, Merlin Locate, Delve Point ONALI, and STUMAR Investigations for sponsoring the show. Don't forget to check out investigatorstoolbox.com, because now you can join through the app available on iOS and Android platforms. You'll be able to access the whole site right from your smartphone. There's no better time than today to finally sign up for the site. For only 49 cents a day, you can take advantage of some great networking, training, and data resource management. And if you use code PIP201836, you can save an extra $20. If you have a question or comment about the show, email Matt at matthews@satellitepi.com. You can also find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. We'd like your feedback to bring you the best shows possible. And we'll be back on Monday with a new show, so make sure you tune in. Now stay safe out there.